Hello. Um, Hi, my name is Will. So, in case it isn't already obvious, this is totally inspired by Daniel Madison and Lloyd Barnes. Thank you guys for getting me back into magic. So, I might look tiny, childish, because I am a child, but I have fooled many other magicians. Yes, I actually know other magicians. Shocking, I know. No, they are not 20 years older than me. Well, well, yeah, they are. Point is, this is the Hermann Pass with two N's. I This was originally published.
Okay, so I wasn't even remotely close in the recording. I'm actually a little bit embarrassed to admit what I did say. So instead, I'm going to read off the Wikipedia page. So it actually came from Alexander Herman, published in New Era Card Tricks, but in about 1940. But then later, in Magic Christian's book, Hofstadter Card Artistry Non Plus Ultra, it was actually invented by Johann Nepomuk Hofstadter. Turns out it's still called the Herman Pass. So, that's that.
This is a pass technique, which means it is secretly cutting the deck. It's incredibly visual and it's my favorite color change. I guess I should teach you that starting right now. Hey, come on. That was a cool transition, right? You know it was. You know it was. Wait, wait. Three, two. Come on. Come on. You know you like that. I'm on the spectrum. So here's the move very basically. Once again. Let's talk about the deck of cards you should use. You want something. Don't use all of the cards. This is about 40 cards. And you want something that isn't too old. Probably like basically anything over 3 months. Basically anything over like 3 or 4 months of heavy use is just not something you should try it with. It'll make too much noise and you can't split reliably. I'll actually stand here. What you don't want is like this deck, which is super old, and Faroing is like, I mean, you can Faro and stuff. You should still be able to Faro with it, but once you start getting inconsistent Faros, it's not a good thing. What I'm going to use are these. I'm going to take like 8 of these out. I'm just not going to use them. The basic motion of the Hermann Pass is like that, okay? From an exposed view. Your left hand is start out with, I don't know, a third of the cards of a full deck. So like a little bit less than half of the current deck you're using. And that much is good. Maybe a little bit more. And you're gonna be doing this motion. This is the motion you're gonna get used to. Your pinky is gonna grab and the deck is gonna rest on the end of this notch right under, right about the notch of the middle finger, little bit above halfway of the ring, and pinky is kind of, it's changing. It's kind of like a Cardini. Okay, so if you're familiar with a Cardini motion, that was a really bad one. But if you're familiar with doing like that sort of thing, you're doing that with your pinky, but your other hands are on it, and you're not dragging it with your thumb. You're not putting pressure. You're just letting your pinky glide. A little bit of your wrist. You can use your wrist. Use your wrist. What am I talking about? So use that pinky, maybe a little bit of your ring finger, right? You want to get this to about 90 degrees. Once you have that motion down, next you want to talk about right hand. Right hand, the job is to provide cover. So when you're doing from an exposed view, as exposed as I can get, when you're turning, the right hand is providing cover. So normally, if it was exposed, it looked like that. But unexposed, it's coming in a lot more like that sort of thing. Hold on, this is better. Your angles are, if this is in front of me, I'd never do it to somebody straight in front of me. Unless I was like that. That's like a crazy tilt though. Like I am totally tilting that thing. This I usually end up doing the pass with my body like that. So I can totally do it like this, but then this wrist not only is pulling this down that way, it's also going straight like that. And a lot of people don't have that wrist flexibility. So what I end up doing is just going to the side and covering it like that. And it's almost a 45-degree angle. I mean, it's almost perfect. If you're my spectator, it's basically perpendicular with them. Okay? I don't even have to guess. It should be barely covering for me. Hold on. From this angle, it should be barely exposed to me. So it's like barely. I don't know. You see that? From that angle, right there, you can't see it. But from here, I can almost barely see it. That's the point you want to do the pass at. Okay? That's your angles. You could also, like I said, do it straight in front, but that's more of a front hand cover. So I'm doing less of that and more of that. Your right hand, let's talk about right hand. Your left hand is just literally doing its mission. Okay, it is going to clear that packet. The way that it clears the packet, it can do that in a few ways. It can clear the packet like that. So what I mean like that is, this is really hard to expose. Like that. Instead of straight on, where the bottom packet, let's do this deck face down. Instead of the bottom packet going dragging, it's gonna go like that. Okay. It's top there. The reason that helps is because more of your cover is coming from your fingers than your hands, just generally. That's how that's how your hands work. So it's more gonna be, you can get away with a lot more here than you can here. That's why the Hermann Pass would never really work from a back angle, because you only have your thumb to cover the back, but you have all your fingers to cover the front. You see? Your right hand is going to sort of, it's not like the classic pass, which I never use. I only use the Hermann Pass. It's not like the classic pass where your right hand is dead stiff and is just holding the bottom packet. If you know the classic pass, looks like that, but I'm very bad at it. It's like that. Hold on. With the classic pass, you're moving the bottom packet, or the top packet, to the bottom. With the Hermann, you're moving the bottom to the top. With the classic pass, your main goal is to keep that right hand still. With the Hermann Pass, it helps to, well, use your right hand to help. So instead of keeping it stiff, I'm gonna, when it clears, like basically the moment I hear this, I feel it. I feel the pressure of my left hand releasing. And at that point, I know that my right hand can kind of push down with the index finger. Sort of push that down. And now it's 10 million times easier because we had that little dip. One of the reasons we had the bottom packet like this and not perpendicular is so it can clear like that way easier. It's so much easier because what happened a lot earlier when I was learning this is I'd clear. This is better illustrated with an old deck. I'd clear it, but then this bottom card or two would like slip like that, and I might end up bending it or it wouldn't come along for the ride. Full exposed angles. I'm going to be in the middle of this packet movement because that's really what she's going to flash. So you got that much real estate. That's basically all you'd ever be performing at normally anyway. Okay, the good thing with the Hermann Pass is you want to be a lot more safe than anything else. Okay, it's better to be safe because you really don't know your angles as much as you might think with the Hermann Pass. Because when you're first starting out, you're gonna not be comfortable with this, and you're not gonna find your groove. Okay, I find my rhythm with it with riffling. So usually the way I do repeated Hermann Pass is after I'm done, I do a bottom riffle and then a top riffle, and in the action of doing a top riffle, I start the Hermann Pass. If you're doing this on camera or to somebody at your eye level, which you would never do unless it's to camera, instead of doing it like that way, I do it the opposite way. So instead of this going at the top, this would go at the bottom. You can use this as a turnover pass. So this is, if you know the turnover pass, this is where it originated from. I mean, you would never know the turnover pass if you didn't know the Hermann Pass first. So, but basically, it's the Hermann Pass. But in the action of turning the deck over, you're turning it in the opposite way of where the bottom packet is, and you're using your hand as cover, spinning it around, kind of squaring it up, and now the other side's changed because you just, it's like that. You can do kind of a wrist kill, but the audio kind of kills it. So what I end up doing is I just do that or do a riffle after, because then it masks the sound a little bit more. Even if it's a really messy one, you want to do that. It could be used as a card control. So my way to do it is by putting it in, then while they have it put in, I'll get into this grip. So instead of pushing it in with your pointer finger, I'm going to do that, but in sort of a modified biddle grip, where my pointer finger goes here. I'll push it, and I get the smallest break possible. Because when you're doing it like this, normally you want to get a nice break. But then I find when you get like a big break like that, is it might come out of the sides a little bit, or it's really obvious to the spectator what you're trying to do. And it's also in front. When you're in a modified biddle grip, even pushing it in, your fingers just naturally kind of get that break. From that point, I kind of guesstimate transfer it into a thumb break. At that point, I'm in Hermann Pass position. This is the position you want. I mean, move your middle fingers a little bit more up, but your pinky and thumb are aligned so that three of clubs, when you do it, that was a bad one. That was bad. When you do it, it is absolutely perfect. A way to pick it up, you can also mask the Hermann Pass motion in the act of like spreading or picking it up. So if you're familiar with like doing that with the deck, that's a Selenium Shift kind of thing. I don't know the Selenium Shift, but it's like that's a cover. So you can kind of do that as a cover. You can pick it up. Because when you're waving your hand like that, it's excused by you picking it up. So the way I pick that up is I will take, while my pinky, see my pinky is kind of covering this here, and it goes over, and in this motion, instead of just letting it fall like that, that's what makes it obvious. That little, you know what I'm talking about. I would just with my pinky, in the motion of waving, my pinky flips it like that. So super fast motion. You can't see it. Another helpful thing when I started out is to up and down motion it. Because when you're going down, the fast motion anyway kind of makes it seem like that's what's causing the change, I guess. They more so suspect that to be the way you're doing it. This isn't limited to just a normal pass. This can also be something like a turnover pass. I wouldn't. I would never do this because just use the cover pass. But if you really wanted to, I could, instead of the normal cover pass, where I clip it between my index pinky and get this 10 under the jack by way of doing that cover pass to hyper expose view like that. You could bring the 10 of hearts packet there, but that's 10 times more exposed. It does end clean, though, so that is a bonus.
Thanks for watching. That was a super disorganized video, but I wanted to put that. Thanks.